Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode 55. Um, sorry about the delay. Um, it's getting late here, so um, catching myself falling asleep. So we will get into it. Um, we will have Sophie Molly join us for a little while to discuss GPs taking away healthcare. Um, and Max, my co-host, will try and join us as well. But whilst we wait for Sophie to join us, I found a couple of topics that I will bring up. And both have to do with Donald Trump. Surprise, surprise. Um, but before I do that, um, I hope that you are all doing well. If you happen to be in America, I hope that you are staying safe. Um, you have support. Here we have Sophie joining us now.
Hello there. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello. I just this minute started recording because um I was running behind.
That's okay. It's nice
Um,
to see you.
nice to see you too. Well, before we get into it, because I know that we want to talk about GPs taking away healthcare.
Hmm.
I thought I'd cover two topics. But yeah. So obviously, no surprise. They're both referring to Donald Trump because we all know that he's a big man baby.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So um, so the Rainbow Youth Project says it typically handles around 3,765 calls per month. But that number more than doubled in November and December after Trump's election victory, exceeding 8,000 calls monthly. Again, not surprising considering
Wow.
his views. Um, he delivered his second inaugural address on Monday. LGBTQ plus youth across the nation turned to crisis onlines in record numbers, according to the Rainbow Youth Project. USA Foundation, the non-profit group, reported over 1,400 calls to its national hotline by early afternoon. So this was on January 20th.
My
Um,
goodness.
yeah, in his half-hour long inaugural address, oh, what fun!
Oh,
I feel sorry for the poor fuckers that have to be with him.
oh, jeez.
Seven.
Imagine having to be the ones that have to like dictate
Yeah,
it and record it. Oh,
yeah. Um, Americans declaring as of today it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. First of all, male and female, like, well, that's okay, whatever. I don't fucking know. I get so sick and tired of hearing this bullshit. The announcement is part of a broader agenda to eliminate federal recognition of gender identity. Well, as a president has, well, he can't do that. Ban gender affirming care. Well, and we've seen Title 9 sections. Yeah. So that's
Yikes.
that. According to the Williams Institute at UCLA's law school, 1.3 million Americans identify as transgender, including 300,000 youth. These individuals are particularly vulnerable to mental health challenges and systemic discrimination. Well, yeah, no kidding. So yeah. So what fun.
Wow. Scary, right? Scary
Yeah.
language
And
from Mr. President.
yeah, and like obviously you don't know because obviously we spoke briefly in the DMs that we had Susie Green on recently.
Oh, lovely Susie Green.
Yeah,
Great.
and
Oh, great person. Lovely
yeah,
person.
we she spoke about obviously res streeting and the terrible person he is. And she even talked about things that I don't think that I wasn't aware of. And so, yeah, I do suggest that if anyone missed that, then do go check that out. But the second one, um, this one, is the one where the United States government no longer recognizes the existence of gender expansive Americans. Okay, after President Donald Trump, or as I like to call him, a puckered anus, signed signed an executive order only hours after being sworn into office again.
Expansive genders. Wow, there's a
Yeah,
term and a half, right?
yeah,
Expansive genders.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
As one of his first executive orders since returning to office, Donald Trump declared that the federal government would no longer recognize transgender people. The sweeping directive, titled Defending Women from Gender Ideology Extremism and Restoring Biological Truth to the Federal Government, defines sex as strictly male or female based on the immutable biological reality of sex.
Jeez.
Characteristics at birth. The new Republican administration claims this move will defend women's rights. No, it won't, because it will erode women's rights and restore trust in government itself. What a trust.
What trust? Nobody trusts government,
Uh,
especially his government.
uh, and like I said again, just well, that's enough of that. And like I said, I'll include that in the description. But like I said to Susie, I'm interested to see how they go about introducing Project 2025. And see what kind of ramifications that's going to have, even
It's
more so.
it's well, it felt like that was the start, but it felt like he was just warming up at on Monday. It feels like that's just a benchmark for what's to come. Project 25 is horrendous. It's literally just taking people's rights and just like shredding them, essentially,
Yeah,
especially for women and minorities. It's just like throwing their rights in the bin. But Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of these so-called feminists don't see it that way. They're like, "Oh no, we can still get along with Trump's America as long as he keeps targeting the trans people. We'll keep supporting him." And I'm like, "How can you do that? It's so
Yeah, I
obvious
mean,
that they're being targeted. Women are being targeted as well as trans and LGBTQIA plus people."
yeah, it's like I don't know if you were seeing because I don't know how much of politics you take an interest in. But and what I mean by that by American politics because I know it's a flipping clown show. But um, Elon Musk did a Nazi salute at
Oh
a
yes, says Zeke Kyle.
yeah,
Yes.
and it's like, what are you doing? Like 2 days prior, him and Donald Trump was at a party, and God, the two of them dancing is just cringe.
Oh, it's cringe and it's
Yeah,
creepy and it's
you've
like
got yeah,
it's like seeing your uncle dance or something. It's just like no, no,
yeah, uh, yeah, but yeah, I mean, so far it's like they're so. Let me have a look because I went on let's go on to my favorite app, not favorite app, favorite website, the anti-trans tracker, anti-trans no trans
Oh, that's a handy wee gizmo. I mean,
yeah.
it's probably been lighting up over the last week.
Oh, this has shot up since the last time I looked. Um, so far, and we are 23 days in. 284 bills, 38 states. Two of those have passed, meaning there's 282 active.
Jeez, it's like full on war against trans people, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
just like, wow. I mean, people keep saying, "Oh, stop overreacting." So it's all hyperbole, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's like they're actively trying to legislate trans people out of existence, both
yeah,
in America and in the UK, and it's just like crazy. Like every day now, there's like like about 4 or 5 new big media stories in the Daily Mail and the various other the Telegraph, other news outlets just bashing trans, just full on hammering into trans people. And the number of these articles seems to just keep going up and up and up. They're just hate articles.
yeah.
It's
It's
like,
like
hmm,
yeah, it's like if we compare that to last year, um, 672 bills were tracked last year. 43 states, 50 passed, 9 were active, 613 of the 672 bills failed. And that was throughout the entire of last year. So God only knows how many
oh,
bills they will try and pass.
I know. It could go into like, yeah, we're talking 4 figures, aren't we? At
Yeah,
least. Crazy, crazy high figures. Um, I really feel for people in America now. Like you were saying, I'm not surprised that the switchboards lighting up on these helplines and these help websites because trans people are scared, and understandably so, because these people are just, I can't think of another word for it, but they're deranged. They're deranged with power and power to bully people. It's like the bullies have been given, I don't know, like just been given so much power, and now they're just like using it and just wanting to target everyone that's not them, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like your schoolyard bully getting the keys to the White House.
yeah, and plus, I mean, he pardoned 50. What was it? He pardoned 1,500 people who were involved in the January 6 riot. Um, and one of those people that were pardoned, because not to stigmatize American people, but you know, many of them aren't very bright. Um, Stupidly said, "Oh, I'm grateful for Trump, so now I'm off to buy a load of weapons."
Oof, jeez, that's quite escalation, isn't it?
Yeah,
From
yeah,
just yeah, um, from having just been pardoned to I'm going to start my own personal war.
yeah,
Um, and you're right. There's a lot of Americans share that sentiment of yeah, just going gun toting and let's just shoot them up, John Wayne style. And that attitude has been around in certain parts of rural Republican Confederate America for a long time,
yeah,
and they want to bring back that kind of Wild West ethos. That's what they mean when they're like, "Oh, make America great again." They mean just having the ability to persecute at will,
yeah.
to do what they like, basically. Uh,
Well, yeah. I mean, I mean, we all know the reason why Donald Trump ran, and it was to avoid prison, and he will, because the Supreme Court basically said that he is above the law.
it's such a scary statement, isn't it? When you get
Yeah,
the highest court in the land going, a president is above the law. I mean, it's like that's like yeah, that's like gangster level stuff, isn't it? It's
yeah.
it's it's a
And when
gangster running the country.
yeah, like when four out of your six are basically billionaires, you've got Elon Musk acting as if he's the president
Mm.
when he donated like 250 million to Trump. This is what you're gonna get, and you've got RFK becoming the European Health Secretary. Okay, you've got Pete Hegseth, who could possibly be sworn in, who is an alcoholic, and he has views on women, saying women shouldn't be in the military. They're only good for being, I guess, essentially good. They're only good enough to be in the kitchen. I'm
Mm.
assuming.
Sort of 50s rhetoric, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but it's like, but yeah, um, but going from American politics to fucking GPs, um, let's talk about GPs taking away healthcare.
GP, it's like it is all tied together, really, isn't it? It's that
Yeah,
whole kind of like anti-trans wave of just devastation from the right wing. who are just pushing so much anti-trans rhetoric into public spaces, into governments, into communities, spreading through Mumsnet, Twitter, all these other media channels, legacy media bombarding us with anti-trans sentiment, and all of that's just filtering into the real world and GP practices. Everyone's scared. Everyone's scared of the anti-trans brigade because everyone's scared of being sued by these rich TERFs. We're sort of going into a sort of era of in the US and the UK of an oligarchy, like these, as you say, these rich people dictating democracy and dictating how people should feel and act and who they should target next. And yeah, they're putting so much pressure, like Rowling and Musk and various other factions are just constantly lobbying government. And although we have a Labour Party, it's only Labour in name only because we all know that it's the far right movers and shakers that are that are running the show. We all know it's them who are pushing their anti-trans, racist, xenophobic stuff into the public realm. And yeah, the whole thing around puberty blockers, or sorry, yeah, puberty blockers and GPs denying healthcare to adults is just it's another part of that. Let's just eradicate trans people. Let's hit them where it hurts. Let's make it really hard for them. Let's stop people from transitioning. So let's get GPs to just say, oh, we cannot subscribe, blah blah blah, and come up with some nonsense about them not having the specialized skills. They do have the skills to do it. It's like the whole puberty blocker thing. It's all just spin and lies. Because puberty blockers are still being prescribed to non-trans kids.
Yeah,
It's all of a sudden they become too dangerous to prescribe when it's a trans person, and not when it's anyone else. But and it's like they spin it so that it sounds like they make it sound like it's legitimate. Oh, we need more evidence. We need to make sure it's safe and all this. And but we already know it's safe. There's already countless studies out there to say that treating trans adults with HRT is safe, treating children with puberty blockers is safe. It's ethical, it's safe, it's been well researched. But of course they don't care about that because they just want to
yeah,
stitch it up, but with their own cash report. And what's the other one? There's an adult one coming out now as well. The forgot what it's called, but yeah, it's like they're like, oh, we cannot do that. It's not safe. Our GPs are not confident to do that. But it's like you were happy doing that before. All of a sudden, okay, all of a sudden now you're too scared to do it, and all of a sudden because trans is like this big hot topic, everyone's running. All the GPs are running scared, and trans people are now left without their medication, and it's unthinkable, really.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It's like, you know, like I said to Susie Green regarding the cash review, cash report.
Hmm.
It's like the turfs and these, they don't like not all of them come out the block saying that they're turf, but it's the rhetoric that they use. But they see the cash report as this holy grail,
Hmm. It's
and
like the
it's
only report that matters,
yeah,
apparently.
and
Hmm.
and this holy grail applies to puberty blockers. Well, it doesn't because puberty blockers have been used for years and years, for decades. Right? And if I was to even give them a bit of a shred of decency, right, if they were concerned about the risks, right, and they were coming at it from that point of view, which they're not, but if they did, playing devil's advocate, I'd be like, okay, I can see your point.
Hmm.
But like with anything, like with any drug, there are going to be side effects, whatever, right? But like you just said, Sophie, puberty blockers have been well researched. You know, science, as we know, evolves. So we're learning every day. And it's like, so you wanna risk young girls going through early onset puberty? Yeah, when it comes to a trans child or a trans adult, you want them to go through the puberty that they didn't want.
It's terrible, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
they know that it harms them. They know the long-term effects that it has on trans people's well-being and mental health. They know that they know that by denying trans people the healthcare that they need. They know that their health will worsen and that their mental health will worsen as a result. But it's like they're just ignoring that. They're ignoring the fact that there's so much evidence to say there's a lot of evidence and first-hand testimony out there from trans people who have become suicidal, who have committed suicide, who are suffering from horrific mental health deterioration from not being able to have their health care needs met, their HRT, their puberty blockers, and they know that they know that it's harmful, but they just refuse to even bring that up. All they seem to do is keep saying, "Oh, but the cash report says this and it says that," and the cash report doesn't even say that much. It doesn't even really say that they're harmful. It just says there's lack of evidence. But it's this the reason is like trans people are such a small percentage of the population.
yeah,
It's like, of course, you're not going to have the same sort of um, pool of documentation and whatnot, research to pull from as you would have from the cisgender population. But it's the fact that they're just sort of ignoring like all the first-hand lived experience of trans people who have been on HR, who have been taking HRT puberty blockers for years. They're ignoring all the voices of trans people who say, "Oh, my life was massively improved by taking these drugs," and all they're saying is, "Oh, we think we know better because this one person did this report, and the report wasn't even peer reviewed, and it ignored a lot of evidence. It didn't even cite any sources from
mm,
trans people or anything. It was just like, to me, it was a stitch up, nothing more than a big stitch up,
yeah,
just as an excuse to say, "Oh, we're going to take your care away now because she's now in the Lords, isn't she? She's now in the House of Lords,
yeah,
Cass, and that's just another, and that's just twisting the knife, that isn't
yeah.
it?"
It's like when we had Heather on, um, she's read the cash report as well. Like I've only read half of it. Um, and Heather said that there are there are good points in there. However, those good points, which there are only few, are overshadowed by absolute crap. Is one thing, like having anecdotal evidence is fine, right? But you can't have a CAF report heavily relying on anecdotal evidence. Like you said, you never interviewed families of trans kids. You never, your work wasn't peer reviewed. Like,
So biased.
so biased, like it's all one sided, your side. If you actually went out and spoke to families of trans children, if you spoke to, I don't know, other experts or whatever it is, then maybe your report may be more credible. Even,
Absolutely. It's the one-sided nature of it. It's
yeah,
the fact that it feels like it's just they've just surveyed, they've just went to a bunch of people who know that they're going to take their side. It's like sort of like a cognitive bias, isn't it? It's like
yeah,
we we'll get these people because they'll affirm our views, they'll back us up, but we'll ignore those people because they'll shed doubt on what we're saying, and they'll make it so that the puberty blockers look beneficial. And we don't want them to look beneficial because we don't want to actually help trans people. We just want to persecute them by taking away their lifeline and all of this. And but it's the Levy report. That's the other one. That's the one that they're working at now, which is probably they're probably going to use that as an excuse for more GPs, etc., to deny trans adults trans healthcare, and
yeah,
but they're already doing that anyway. And I am constantly trying to send big letters to the ICB, integrated care boards of various GPs around the country, to try and convince them that what they're doing is wrong and that they should be offering shared care and they should be continuing to prescribe HRT and testosterone blockers and all of that to their patients, to let them to drop them cold turkey is horrific. I mean, you wouldn't do that to any other patient. You wouldn't go to
no,
some patient suffering from like mania or really bad chronic depression,
no,
major depression disorder, or schizophrenia or something else, bipolar. You wouldn't just suddenly rip their medication away because it's dangerous.
yeah,
And but they don't seem to when I've been in contact with these practices, Jubilee Park, the one that's been
yeah,
in the
yeah, yeah,
news. It's just like they just keep coming back with all of this. Oh, we don't have the resources, and we don't have this, and we don't have that. But they do. It's just it's like it's the doctors. The doctors, people have even told me that these doctors have just been openly transphobic. They've been dead naming their patients and refusing to use their pronouns. And that's not ethical. That's not
no,
good. That's not following good practice.
no, no,
That's
it's
just being
not.
horrible. That's being cruel for the
Yeah,
sake of being cruel. Ah,
yeah. This is from 2021. Trans Actual found that 14%. Again, this is in 2021. That
mm.
14% of trans or non-binary people were refused GP care at least once. This is a part of a pattern of negative experiences that trans people have had with healthcare services. In 2018, the National LGBT Survey found that 38% of trans people had at least one negative experience with healthcare services. Of those, 18% of trans people had avoided treatment for fear of a negative reaction.
Oh, I was one of those. I think I actually participated in the transactional survey, and because I was denied healthcare at one point when I was living in Edinburgh. I went to try and get shared care because I was getting private prescriptions because I was on the waiting list, and to try and make it less expensive for me, I wanted to see if I would get NHS prescriptions, get them switched over. And but they were like, oh yeah, yeah, that should be okay, blah blah blah. And then they arranged an appointment for me to go into the practice to speak to a GP. I went into the practice. My friend was there at the time, and then the person was like, "Oh, we don't do that stuff here. We don't treat that kind of thing here, and we know nothing about that, and we don't want to do that. And we'll have to discuss this at more meetings, and we're not sure, and just basically trying everything to wriggle out of it."
Yeah,
And it was me just biting my lip, trying not to snap at them because they were totally at it. Eventually, after a few more strongly worded letters and emails, and eventually they gave me bridging prescriptions, but what a nightmare. It was just like avoidance after avoidance and excuse after excuse, and we can't do this, we can't do that. Even though I got from a private clinic, I got all the levels, all my I even went to get blood tests, and I even gave them blood test levels, and they had all of that. They had all my levels of testosterone and estrogen, and they knew all that, but they were still making up excuses saying, "Oh, we can't give you these prescriptions," even though you've just displayed to us that you're completely on top of your healthcare and you know what you're doing. We still don't want to give you prescriptions because why would we do that? Why would we make
yeah,
it easier for you? Why would we be willing to save you the hassle and the money to get them privately? And ultimately, I ended up going homeless because I was basically trying to feed my habit, and my habit was HRT.
yeah, yeah.
And I
Yeah,
ended up going homeless because of that.
yeah,
Because the NHS are like almost like trying to make these drugs illegal. So by doing that, they're forcing trans people to fork out lots of money to get these drugs elsewhere. And that's having a detrimental impact on their finances and their
yeah,
well-being.
yeah.
Oh,
We didn't specifically touch on this, but again, when we interviewed Sudi, um, she ran obviously her daughter, um, could needed help, um, and Susie said this on the outset that she was fortunate enough that she was able to remortgage her house, right, and obviously go to America and obviously help her daughter, you know, finance in that aspect. Not a lot of people are in that fortunate space.
no,
So
no.
you're making a service which which has already been diminished by the countless from the higher ups. You've then got, you know, charities like the LGBT Alliance and others,
Mm,
like Sex Matters, climbing down, saying this is ridiculous, this is harmful, by putting pressure on. And what will happen is, right, the more services that are pulled, right, the more, and this is the reality, the more deaths you're gonna see, the
mm,
more suicides you're gonna see,
definitely.
right, the more mental health will decline, right? It's like the suicide rate is already high and is going up anyway. That's just a fact because the GPs, the services that the GPs offer aren't good enough in my opinion.
across the board, yeah.
Yeah. That's not saying that not all GPs are money hungry or transphobic or whatever. Yes, they are underfunded and so on. Yes, we can have sympathy for that. But when you're playing around with people's lives, I'm sorry, but that's not. But that goes against your oath. So yeah, there'll be more suicides, more deaths, and we're gonna get to a point where we can no longer have this happen. You know, on I mean, what other option do we have? It's like the good work that you're doing, obviously by emailing these people, saying wake the fuck up, basically.
I know.
Look what you're doing. You
Trying to
know,
just hassling them
yeah,
basically to not let the issue to not let the issue die, basically.
no, exactly. It's like this on University of Cambridge. This was in 2023, so I'll go down to this particular one. So where is it? Trans and then again, this was in 2023. Trans and non-binary adults were less likely to be involved in decisions about care and treatment. 85% compared with 93.7%. Those trans and non-binary adults with mental health needs were less likely to have their needs recognized and understood. 77.6 compared with 87.3%. Fewer trans and non-binary adults said that overall their needs were met 88.1% compared with 95.2. So basically, their needs, like you just pointed out, they weren't involved in decisions about care and treatment.
Just it's heartbreaking, isn't it? It
Yeah,
really is. It's taking away all their it's all agency, and we get treated like we're not even able to make our own decisions. It's heart wrenching to I spend like yourself, I spend all my day reading up on statistics and stories on
yeah,
but sometimes I'm just like I just break down in tears. I'm like, this is just
yeah.
wow.
And
Um,
for those of you who say that kids can't that kids cannot consent, yes they can. But if you don't believe me, with if you want to be totally ignorant, then okay, fine. But just look up competency framework.
oh, the Gillick competence,
Yeah,
yeah.
just look at that. I don't care if you look at that and you still don't believe me or believe what it says, then that's on you. But if you don't think kids can consent, now of course I am well aware that massively depends on a number of things. Of course it does. But to suggest that kids can't consent is utter bollocks.
Oh, absolutely. Kids can consent. Kids have rights,
Yeah,
just like adults do. It's like yeah, it's like this thing where parents a lot of parents just seem to treat their kids as property. Kids are not property.
oh,
Kids are their own autonomous beings. It's just like yes, you have guardianship over them, but you don't control them. You shouldn't be controlling their lives. That's to me, that's not good parenting. To me, that's you're denying them agency. You're taking away their ability to make good choices, make or just make choices in general, and you're denying them. You're just denying them. You're denying them choice and freedom, and you're making it out as though kids are just some sort of thing that you can just do with what you want, and you can't. They're human beings. They have just as much rights as everyone else, like adults,
Yeah,
as
it's like,
adults do.
as soon as because I've said it. I think I said it 3 times in a conversation, right? Because obviously, like I just outlined, of course, it massively depends. It varies. It's a case by
Mm,
case basis. Of course, if a child isn't able to isn't able to fully understand, then of course
mm,
there are barriers.
yeah.
Absolutely. I'm not saying, oh, there must be a carte blanche, one rule for all. Like, no, it's a case by case basis. But
Mm,
as soon as you say something as simple as kids can consent,
sweeping,
like
isn't it?
they're like fucking a moth to a flame. Like, ugh. Like, no, they can't. Like, well, yes, they can. It's not. It's not the Victorian era where you tell a child what to do and they do it. No, but it's like, you know, I don't know. Like you, I'm still gonna say what I say
Oh
because
yeah.
one,
I mean,
it it
I'm.
pisses them off, which it does win because they're so fragile. Two, they're stupid, and I'll just keep exposing that because I mean, I'm not being funny, but Twitter X is going to shit anyway, so
Oh,
it's
it
probably not, so it's not
is.
going to be around long
It's a
longer.
proper dumpster fire, isn't
Yeah,
it, at the moment?
yeah, yeah, it is. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to. I mean, I suppose we could have have a hypothetical. I wonder, like, how can this? I mean, I think we already. I mean, we already know the answer to this, but what improvements can be made if this also if you know if we were able to get to a level playing field where trans youth can access the services they need, and that's across the board, not
Mm.
just medication and treatment, but
Oh, the
across the board.
dream.
Like, what would it take for us to get to for us to get to that point?
The thing is, firstly, it takes people to actually, well, for doctors and the NHS to actually acknowledge that trans people exist, we're here, and we're just as important as cis people. Um, we're always like we always feel like we're just this afterthought, this burden, this thing that they have to tag on. And I want it to be at the point where we're just people can just access HRT over the counter. Like just you just go to your GP and you're like, oh, I think I might have gender dysphoria, and they're like, well, take this test and come and then make another appointment, and then they're like, oh, it looks like you've got HR, it looks like you've got gender dysphoria. We'll try you on HRT, see how that makes you feel. And yeah, it should be like that. Just like when you go to the doctor for depression, it should just be like they go through your symptoms, they go through how you're feeling, and they say, well, we'll recommend this treatment for you. They don't they don't question your like ability to consent on it or anything. They just say you go to them and they're like, oh, I've been feeling down for such and such a time. They're like, we'll try you on this drug, see how you get on. We'll keep monitoring you and then come back for a review. And it should just be the same with HRT. It shouldn't be like this taboo. It should just be like any other medication that
Yeah,
people go to when they're to get treatment for, and it should just be easily accessed, and any doctor should be able to prescribe it. It shouldn't have to be a specialist doctor. I mean, it's just treating someone for gender dysphoria is really easy. It's just It's the medication is pretty simple and it has very little side effects compared to many other drugs for other conditions. And any doctor can do it. I mean, trans people themselves do it. They medicate themselves. I could prescribe someone HRT and I'd know how to monitor their levels. That's how much I've got used to it over the years. I've had to get used to it. But they make it sound like this massively complicated thing, but it isn't. And if they did that, it would free up uh, the GICs to do other things and to get more people through for surgeries and stuff like that. And it's just it's basic stuff. It really
Yeah,
is, and it's just people's right to choose the best healthcare that they think they require, and to discuss that with their doctor. And it should be a choice that the person makes, not something that society is like, oh, you can't do this without X, X, and this. And
yeah,
I mean, it's just HRT, it's reversible. That's the thing, it is reversible. And the TERFs will keep coming out and say, oh, there's irreversible damage. It doesn't. It really doesn't do damage to a person. It's just it's just like taking any other drug. You try it, if it doesn't work for you, then try something else. They make it out to be this huge big deal when all it is just medication to help someone feel more comfortable, to help someone get out of bed in the morning. That's all it is.
yeah.
Hmm.
It's like, again, if I was to, you know, play devil's advocate, look at it from their point of view, like it could be a lack of expertise. Many GPs feel they lack the necessary training and expertise to prescribe and monitor hormone replacement therapy. Okay, from a devil's advocate point of view, okay, that could be a very credible statement to make.
The thing
Funding,
is, yeah,
yeah, funding and resource constraints. Limited funding and resources can also play a role. I mean, okay, yeah. Guidance and recommendations. Um, I think personal beliefs is a massive one as well. Um, some GPs' personal beliefs and biases can influence their decision making. Transphobia and lack of understanding.
mm,
Contractual obligations. There is often ambiguity in the contractual obligations of GPs regarding the care of trans patients. Okay, so looking from a devil's advocate point of view, okay, I could agree with that,
it,
except lack of expertise. Well, that's incorrect.
it could
Um,
honestly, it would take one afternoon for them to learn what they need to learn. It's
yeah,
really straightforward stuff. It's like they're GPs. It's like they're not. It's like saying that doesn't really give them credit.
no, doesn't. It's like, I mean, in my experience, I mean, I don't know if any trans person has had this, but I know for me, I've had GPs that refer to textbook.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I explain to them what I'm feeling, what my symptoms, you know, my symptoms have been regular, consistent. I've had, I think, two GPs go to the textbook, and they basically mansplain to me that I am wrong.
Oh, they love doing that, don't
Yeah,
they?
it's like, I've coined the phrase because I've had many a conversation, when I say conversation, um, with women, who are mainly gender critical and TERFs, go on a massive rant, and I've coined the phrase woman-splaining
Hmm.
instead of mansplaining, and they and they say woman-splaining don't exist. Well, it does in my book because you're
It
doing
does.
exactly the same thing as men.
Anyone can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not repeat, it's not based on your gender,
I know.
but
Women,
but
men, non-binary,
yeah,
anyone can
yeah.
lecture someone. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said. Um, as someone who you know has suicidal ideation, I am a massive proponent of getting people help. Right, because I mean, let's face facts. I mean, we're 3 years, we're 4 years on from the pandemic.
Hmm.
We haven't even felt the full force of that yet in terms of the number of people who committed suicide, the number of people who died from natural causes, died from contracting COVID-19. We don't know the true figure.
Still a lot of info come out.
And so,
Hmm.
you know, not to mention the NHS was didn't have didn't have enough beds. The NHS itself is virtually non-existent in terms of being able to fulfill the services required.
Hmm.
You've got the impending 6-year waiting list, or even higher, just to get an initial appointment. So if you need signs, they're right there. For a trans person to wait 6 years, potentially 10 years, to get an initial appointment, that's not even know just to get in the door. What are we doing?
That's no service at all, is it?
No.
It's like their needs are not being met at all. And it's shocking. It's shocking. It's like even when they want to really overly medicalize the condition, because the government, the NHS, they love doing that. But it's all there. It's all written about. It's all in the DSM-5, and they
Yeah.
know the impact, the consequences of not treating the condition. They know what they are. Um, they know the risk. They know that it'll drive up suicide. They know all that, but it's like they just seem to be willfully ignoring a lot of that. And I get the reason. I get that the NHS is struggling, but I think if they were to sort of, they could easily take pressure off of that by making more GPs able to prescribe estrogen, the HRT. It'd be easy to get them to do that, and it wouldn't even equate to that much more work for them either. In fact, it would probably be less work because they'd have less people coming in feeling suicidal and depressed and all that if they actually just treated the conditions right from the get-go. I feel that they should just do that. They should just try and get all the GPs, all the practitioners. It doesn't even need to be a GP. You could get some nurses could even administer. Some of these high grade nurses could even administer prescriptions and stuff for HRT. Because they're they're very well trained and knowledgeable. And or if they're not currently, they could get more, allow for more nurses, practitioners, etc., to prescribe, and that would take so much pressure off. and it's the access, it's the gatekeeping, it's the fact that they're funneling trans people through a very expensive system of having to go see psychologists, and there's only a limited number of those. And to get diagnosed, they need to remove the diagnosis criteria from a psychologist.
Yeah.
It should just you should just be able to go to your doctor. A GP can diagnose it, just like they can with depression. It doesn't need a psychologist because it's not that, to me, it's not that kind of condition. It's very much a condition that any GP is able to treat through current pathways, recognized pathways of treatment. It is, I keep saying this, it's an easy to treat condition, but it's a very dangerous condition if it's left untreated. Um, I would love to see that. I would love to see them just open it up, just really throw the doors open, and just get get the whole NHS service up to speed on it, and make sure that any GP anywhere in UK can write a prescription to a trans person for HRT. I mean, that's what I'd like to see. And that would cut down the initial wait time. And that's what I want. I want people just to be able to say, I'm suffering from this, these are my symptoms. And then the GP goes, okay, I'm going to write you a prescription for HRT because I think it looks to me like you're suffering from this. And then they go away and they're like, yeah, you got a prescription. And then 4 weeks later, they come back for a review and they say, how are you feeling? Do you notice any difference in your mental health? Do you feel it's making you feel better, worse, or and then just adjust their treatment and take it from there, just like they do with antidepressants.
Yeah.
It's not really a massive deal. It's just treatment. It's like asthma. You go on for asthma and you get started out on an inhaler. If that inhaler doesn't work, you get put onto another one. And it's not dangerous. And of course, with every drug, there's side effects, but the GP always warns the patient anyway, and the patient can always turn around and say, actually, no, I don't think this is for me. What are the alternatives? What else can I do? But it's still the patient's choice. It's not like the doctors are forcing it upon them or anything. It's just we have to realize that like human beings, we need to be able to make informed choices about our healthcare. And there's nothing wrong with an informed consent model, like going to the patient and going, well, here's what it is. We think that these are the benefits, these are the side effects. We'll let you go away and think about it, and then you can decide. Let us know if you want to start treatment. And that's great. Obviously, there's caveats to that. If someone is not able for like got some sort of brain disorder, for example, which doesn't allow them to make their own informed choices, then yeah, but that's rare. That's rare incidents. Most adults are able to make their own informed choices, just like over using a contraceptive pill was another one. And we don't go to someone when they turn up and say, "Oh, I'd like to go on the pill." We don't go, "Oh, actually, we want you to go and see a psychiatrist," and and to drag them through all that before they get the
Yeah.
prescription.
Yeah.
They,
It's like, yeah.
uh,
If if there was something, I mean, Heather said that the only way that the NHS can be saved is if we get the politicians out. Stop meddling with the NHS.
oh, they keep meddling. They keep
Yeah.
coming out
Um.
with these outrageous statements.
Yeah. But if there was any way of saving the NHS, which has been kind of overdue, and that's um saying it, you know, what matter of factly. And if you don't understand how badly the NHS has been badly underfunded for at least 10 plus years, just look at how stretched they were during the pandemic.
Oh,
So we
massively
don't, so
stretched.
we don't have to keep shitting on the NHS because the doctors and nurses work their asses off.
Oh, they're brilliant. The NHS
Yeah,
is a brilliant
yeah,
institution. It's why I'm so sad that it's been neglected
yeah.
and
But it's like if there
mismanaged.
was ever a way to save it, I suppose. I know that sounds a bit glib, but to save because it does generally help millions of people. Um, but yeah, if there was a way to save it, I'd actually see a restructuring of some of the services, make them more streamlined, make it broader and easier for people to use. Um, Perhaps get a different department that deals with all of the paperwork. Because one of the things I notice, especially with GPs, right? They spend more time doing paperwork than they
Hmm.
do spending with patients.
That's just so upside down, isn't it?
And I'm assuming it's the same in hospital settings, unless you're in one of the other departments where you're just constantly busy because you've got an influx of patients
Hmm.
with more serious injuries. But yeah, a different department within the hospital itself, not outsourcing. They're within the hospital, whether it's London's hospital or wherever, where they solely focus on the paperwork, and that system is built upon correct and it's being done correctly. So that frees up doctors and nurses to do the important work. But I think that might just be wishful thinking on my part because
No, I think that's a brilliant idea.
yeah.
I'm
And in terms of medication, now obviously I'm coming from the mental health side, so I'm sure it can work for the medication that trans people use. You know, stop stop the constant prescribing on medication when GPs don't even know what their patient is asking for because that happens a lot. Oh, I've got a bit of a cold. Yeah, that whatever to that effect. That needs to stop. And GPs need to have a better, you know, system of allowing people to make appointments a lot easier.
oh, getting an appointment is a nightmare.
Yeah, it's like yeah. I mean, obviously, this is just usual third world parties. Meanwhile, obviously, what's happening around the world, especially in Gaza. But it's like, you know, but it's like, and this is the one thing that it drives me up the wall. It's like, aren't you worried about what's happening in Gaza? Well, yeah, but we can have more, but we can focus on more than one issue. What's happening in Gaza? I mean, I know they recently had the ceasefire deal. So let's see what happens with that more. But it's like, yeah, getting an appointment with a GP is like, why even bother? Seriously. But yeah, so restructure, streamline, broaden, make it easier for people to use the services. Inbuilt department that takes care of the paperwork. Wishful thinking on my part, but I think it could something that like that could happen.
I think so too.
Better pay for all NHS staff because they deserve it. Because
100%.
I hate to think how many doctors and nurses we have left because a lot of them are leaving.
It's like a mass exodus.
Yeah, to go elsewhere. So yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I know that the NHS is on its way going to be privatised. I think, or they're working on it.
They're trying very hard, aren't they?
Yeah, it's like yeah. I don't know about that to be honest. If they could do it in a way, which they won't because they only care about money. But if they could do it in a way where it's geared more towards people who can afford to go private while leaving the NHS, which is free for those who can't afford to go private. If they did it that way and structured it like that, I don't think people would have a problem. But they will have a problem if you crank up the price of prescriptions up. Then they
Hmm.
will. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. To be honest,
It's
I
it's
think you
it's the it's the yeah. It's the fact that they're trying to sort of do both, aren't they? They're sort of using privatization as a way to just try and heal the NHS, but
yeah,
it doesn't. To me, it feels like they're muddled in water. They're trying to put private and NHS together, and I really think they should remain separate items rather than just one. Because when you start muddling them up together, it 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 kind of creates this sort of it creates confusion
yeah,
and bureaucracy, and as you say, it becomes less streamlined. Because you end up people having to get patients getting channeled through private um, outlets of the NHS, which become like almost like a third party or a third party in a way. And sometimes I feel that can sort of slow down the machine almost. Um, yeah, restructuring I think is a
yeah.
much better word.
It's like we haven't even you know mentioned how long you have to wait. You know, it's like it's one thing getting to getting to your local hospital, right? That's fine getting there and saying the name and what you're there for. That's fine. But it's when they ask you to go into the waiting area
Hmm.
and you have absolutely no fucking idea how long you're going to be there for.
Oh
Be
gosh,
there,
it could
you could be
be
there for
5 minutes or
2 hours.
hours.
Yeah, you could be there for 2 hours, or you could be there for 8. And it's like,
Hmm.
listen, I understand that hospitals aren't, exactly, you know, slow. They're fast-paced environments. They're dealing with thousands upon thousands of people every day, right, with varying degrees of injuries. I get that. But if you've got a broken leg and you're in a waiting area or you're in a bed in a ward
Hmm.
and you've got to wait 8 hours to be seen by a doctor, you haven't even been seen by anyone yet. And that is the same experience for multiple patients, for multiple people who've had to sit in the waiting area for 3 hours, 4, 6. That's a problem.
It's a huge problem. It's yeah, people it means people are suffering. People are suffering and people are having traumatic experience. Um yeah, I mean waiting in a A&E, especially on a Saturday, Friday night, is an incredibly traumatic experience.
Yeah.
If
But
you've ever been fortunate enough to have to do that, it's just
for-
yeah.
fortunately, no. But the sad thing is, on the Friday and Saturday nights, while they are wanting to prioritize a patient, they're having to prioritize the drunks that come in
Mm,
because because obviously because they're pissed out of their head, they've fallen and they've cut themselves open, and they sort of become the priority, which leaves the patient they were seen to having to wait for an hour, two
yeah,
hours or more, to then be re-seen again, to then be told either there's nothing wrong with you, you can go, or they have to wait a further another 20, 30, 40 minutes to be booked in overnight or whatever. It's like that is not how you run. Like I'm not a business owner. The NHS isn't a business, but it's run been run like one for the
mm.
past 20 plus years, and I think that's part of the problem. Like it's not a business; it's a hospital.
It shouldn't be a
No,
business,
it shouldn't
really.
be. But I mean, yeah. Um, but yeah, the GPs need to. I hope that. I mean, we're just going to have to wait and see what the climate looks like. Climate looks like in another 3 months because
It's
I don't want to like foreshadow or be glib, but I mean I try and stay positive, but there's only so much positivity I feel like dishing out sometimes.
it is hard, isn't it?
Yeah. Um. But yeah, I mean I don't even want to project next year because I just want to see what happens this year,
It's too
considering,
hard to think that far now,
yeah,
isn't it? With all that's
um,
going on.
my one of the things I'm focused on seeing is Project 2025, because I want to read into that, and yeah, all of this, anti-trans bullshit from our government, which I already foresee coming because it's the American playbook just
Mm.
trickling down.
What the Americans do just filters through here because they're all integrated. They all talk to each other. They all do business together.
Yeah.
People like to think of them as separate, but they're not. The
Oh,
UK and the US are very much joined at the hip in terms of the way things are done. And yeah, there is cultural differences, but a lot of it is the same. And a lot of American businesses have strong footholds, ties in the UK. And yeah, and a lot of the politicians are very much joint as well. Like they all interact, they all meet up with each other, and it's the big boys club, as they say,
yeah.
and the old boys club. But that's it's so dangerous. All that nepotism, everything else. It's so dangerous, and it's so insidious the way they work. And yeah, America is going to have a big impact on here. The Trump administration is going to have a huge impact on UK
Yeah,
politics in the coming years, and I am just like you say, just seeing how it all unfolds, doing my best to combat and challenge the nonsense as it unfolds, and it will.
yeah,
There'll be some huge amount of ridiculous rhetoric and policy will come out this year, both in the
yeah,
US and the UK, and it'll be. I'll either laugh about it or I'll cry, one or the two, because it's gonna be it's gonna be insane,
yeah.
basically.
That's one of the ways that I temper my anger and frustration is by laughing. Because if I don't laugh, I mean, it's already happened on the podcast like once or twice where I've absolutely fucking lost it to the enjoyment of Max. Um, um, and I foresee me losing it again on the podcast at some point because sometimes every now and again I just get absolutely fed up. But
I
yeah,
do
that's one way
too.
I temper. Yeah, it's like recently within the last 24 maybe 24 hours. I don't know if you've seen, but this female bishop Buddy,
Oh yes.
did
Right.
obviously did a sermon. Donald Trump, JD Vance, and all of that lot attended.
All
And
those all the full horror show.
yeah, and um Bishop Buddy did a very calm, passioned speech.
It's lovely.
Um, very very respectful. Um, and probably several hours later, I don't know the timeline, but basically Donald Trump took to Twitter and basically verbally attacked this female bishop, saying that she should apologize to him.
Using his massive platform.
Yeah,
Jeez. That poor bishop's gonna get hell for this now.
but from people like Trump, yes, not but from her own clergy, I don't think so. Maybe
No.
if but this is why I refer to him as a man baby, because you know because he's got away with all of the convictions,
Mm.
because obviously because the Supreme Court for some reason said, yeah, he's above the law. Okay, well done, right, but yeah. Um, Also about a week ago, it seems like it. Um, Elon Musk and Nigel Farage had a bit of a falling out.
Oh, they had that public spat, didn't
Yeah,
they?
because Elon Musk wanted to donate to Reform, and Nigel Farage said basically, I'm going to paraphrase, but he basically said fuck off.
Which actually, for once, I actually agree with
Yeah,
Farage.
yeah, because
Never thought I'd say that ever.
no, because Elon Musk has nothing better to do. Um, he's but yeah. Elon Musk also wanted to buy MSNBC, but yeah, that a lot of that stuff is going to continue to happen. You know, Elon
Oh,
Musk will want to try and buy up everything to
muscle his way
control
into
it.
everything.
Yeah. Donald Trump will get more and more orange as
Oh
we go
yes,
on
the tango,
because you
the
know,
the American tango will keep.
yeah, yeah, because he fake tans every day. Um, why he fake tans, I don't know.
I have no idea. Maybe some
Um,
status thing or some nonsense like that.
I don't fucking know. But yeah, so yeah, if you were hoping to join us to have a happy discussion about happy things, then you are sadly
Oh,
mistaken because
don't think there's going to be much of that going around.
no, not unless of course you voted for him and you're happy with that, then okay, that's fine. I because I recently had an interaction with someone who I'm gonna I'm gonna say something because I don't know if what they had in their bio was true or not. I'm just gonna say this just to protect myself. This woman claimed that she was a domestic violence survivor. Now again, I don't know if that is true because I can never tell with the amount of abuse I get. But obviously, you know, she's MAGA. She voted for Trump, and it's like I pointed out to her that you're a domestic violence survivor. Yet you elected a rapist.
Someone that's encouraging domestic violence.
Yeah, it's like I'm sorry, but from where I come from, I live on a small island compared to everyone else. So maybe that might just be it, you know. But you don't elect a rapist. I don't care what your beliefs are. You can believe Donald Trump is a demigod. You can believe that he's Jesus. Okay, whatever. Well done. You
Mm.
know, believe that all you want. But you don't do that because because what you're basically saying is you will believe a rapist over your fellow survivors.
It's
That's essentially what you're saying with your
it's
vote.
that's it's unconscionable, isn't it?
Yeah.
It it's like how can how can anyone be that how can anyone have the wool pulled over their eyes that much that they can vote for basically the kind of person that's made their life hell, basically. It's just, it's just, to me, it's
Well,
unthinkable. I don't understand how they can.
but I guess it's easy when you still support a man when he's known and it is well known that he sexually gropes women. And it's even more creepy that I remember an interview we did. This was years ago. Um, this was regarding Ivanka Trump, his daughter,
Hmm. Oh, I remember this.
and he said something like, "She's very beautiful, or stunning. Um, if she wasn't my daughter, I'd date her."
Oh, the
And it's
level
like,
of creepiness in that one sentence is off the scale.
so he's creepy, He dated his own daughter if she wasn't his daughter, because apparently he loves young women. Soccer. I've never heard that before. From a creepy man. I mean, if you want to know if you want to look at people like Donald Trump, look up Jimmy Savile and all of those lot, and you'll get the kind of vibe that I get. Right, so he said that, and then he has countless sexual allegations against him, and you still, as a domestic violence survivor, still vote for him. I'm sorry, but you need your head tested.
We need help.
Because
I mean, what are you doing? Your mental health cannot be healthy if you're doing that.
no,
That's it's not healthy. It's
no,
not healthy behavior, is it?
and sadly, you know, and sadly, that is a climate that Donald Trump has emboldened, and it's going to get worse.
Oh, it's going to get so
It's going to
much
get worse
worse.
and worse until when we get to the 2028 um re-election, because obviously he can only serve 4 years. He can't serve another four. Which I suppose which is um good news, I suppose, in a way, but which means that this next 4 years is going to be an absolute fucking nightmare
Oh, it's going to be
for the
absolute
American
hell.
public. So yeah, I don't
I just,
know.
I'm going to keep at it. I mean,
Yeah,
I get the days where I'm demoralized, but then I get the other days where I come out the gates
yeah.
fighting
This is what.
strong.
Yeah, this is why. know, if it wasn't for people like yourself, Susie
And
Green,
yourself.
Heather Patterson, and amazing people doing work, whether it's in the form of a charity or advocating, I think I'd be a lot more. I don't want to say depressed, but I think I would be a lot more glib, and I'd be like, what is the fucking point?
I know.
But because I see the amazing work people do, I'm like, you know what?
Gives hope.
It not only does it give hope, but it shows that you don't, you know, a lot of these charities rely on donations. So, and they provide a service. I feel for charities like, um, like and healthcare and health mermaids. I feel the charities similar to that in America that have to now try and navigate the hellhole just to try and support trans youth.
Oh, I feel for the youth. I really do. Like they're getting hammered by these, or what I can only describe as despots. Really, these
Yeah,
complete just fanatics that are that have taken over America.
yeah. It's like I mean, I know the Trevor Project is a massive charity in America, and I know that they help a lot. They help thousands of people a year. So hopefully, they can, you know, not catch that ire of MAGA Republicans.
Mm.
But I'm sure they are capable enough to handle it because I mean, that's what I mean. That's all you can do is just do what you can do, which is do the work that you know you've been doing. And if it has to happen, then obviously fight that head on. But yeah, um, I don't know. Um,
Got
yeah,
just got to keep pushing forward, keep the
yeah,
hope, keep sending the
um,
message, the right messages out there.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because if me and Max hadn't decided to do like 1 week of reviewing and review a book, our mental health would be a lot worse. So you know, so us doing like covering topics once a week is a lot better because when we used to do it every week, it was getting to the point where we were getting fed up, and it's only going to get worse. And
Hmm.
we were only 23 days in. So
23 days in, my goodness, it feels a lot longer, doesn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, we will be covering a lot more throughout the year. Um, but yeah, I think because we pretty much said what we needed to say. We just want GPs to do their job.
Pretty much, that's what it comes down to. Just just to follow their Hippocratic oath,
Yeah, that we're
to
not
be carers, to
yeah,
be
we're
people that
not
want to heal, healers. Yeah.
yeah, we're not asking for much. You know,
We never do.
we're not asking for much. We're just asking you to provide a service, help trans youth, trans adults access the care that they need, or you can face the other thing and have it on your conscience of all of these kids basically unaliving themselves.
Yeah, suffering and unaliving and going through hell, and then their parents suffering as it also,
Yeah,
and their friends suffering, and so on and so forth.
yeah, exactly. But
It creates a vicious climate, doesn't it, of
yeah,
misery.
yeah, so yeah, that's all I've got to say on on the matter.
Yeah. Just a bit
Um,
more, just some more empathy is what we need. A lot more empathy, actually, in some
yeah.
cases.
Um, in my experience, and it depends who you're talking to, because if you're talking to the turfs side, they lack they lack empathy.
Oh,
They lack
100%. No
a
empathy there.
brain. So discount them. But the vast majority do have empathy, and whether they believe, you know, what turfs believe or not, whether regardless of where they stand, right, the vast majority of people still want kids to get the care they need, regardless, right? Because well, I say recent, only 26% of the UK, sorry, no, 26% are against um trans people, right? So 26%, that pretty much basically makes up, in my opinion, the turfs.
Hmm.
Which is a very small, which 26% is a minority, not a majority. But yeah, the vast majority of people don't care. They don't give a fuck. They let people live their lives.
I just want people to be happy and to
Yeah,
be healthy.
and it's like it's these like turfs who like I say, don't have empathy. They don't have a brain, and it's like you know basically what I'm driving at is it's gonna get worse from the American side. I can foresee it getting worse from the turfs. Um, what on good news, we've got Graham Linehan leaving the UK.
Yay! So
Um,
long, farewell.
so that's good news. I just hope that he doesn't sexually harass or assault anyone in Arizona. Um, but knowing Glinner, he'll probably he will he'll cause problems over there as well.
Oh, he will. He'll get many more lawsuits against
Yeah.
him for sure.
Apparently, apparently one of the main reasons he's moving to Arizona apparently is so that he can open carry.
Jeez.
Apparently,
Yeah, he's on the run basically, isn't he?
yeah. Helen Stanalan replied to a comment because someone asked why is he moving to Arizona, and Helen Stanalan wrote um to write more comedies.
No, that's the biggest lie ever, isn't it?
He hasn't wrote a comedy in 5.5 minutes. Um, but yeah, um, but I think that will wrap up this
Thanks for the
episode.
chat tonight. It's always good to
No, it's
talk.
all right. It's like we've wanted you back on for ages.
Oh, oh,
Um,
I'm always so busy. It's like,
yeah.
oh,
I'm sorry. Um, I wasn't able to meet Heather. Uh, via Zoom. Um,
oh,
so
she'll be back. She's very, very tired tonight.
yeah.
Um,
Um, I'm
so
sure.
much, so
I'm
much work.
sure. Yeah. I'm sure if you know a few months from now, I'm sure if both you and Heather are free at the same time, I'm sure we can work something out. Um,
Definitely love
but
to be back.
yeah, um,
I love talking queer politics. You
yeah,
know me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, until all of this surveys stop, me and Max will continue to wait to talk about these things. Um, but yeah, so everything we've discussed will be in a link in the description below. Obviously,
Oh,
I'll
brilliant.
link to Sophie's Twitter and Blue Sky, um, so you can follow her. Um, so yeah, thank you for listening, and we will see
Um,
you next week. Right.
See you next
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Let me stop recording.